I can't believe how fast this chapter went by. Just for starters, I mean, this was insane. Just action beat after action beat after action beat, just boom, 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 hit the ground running. And you know the chapter's going to be amazing when you have Buggy Shanks playing Yu-Gi-Oh. You have a random, I think it's like a random alligator there. You have Rayleigh in the background and Roger in the background there drinking. I mean, come on, like just based off that cover alone, you're like, yeah, we're in for a treat. This is gonna be amazing. Did Roger actually have like a crocodile in his crew? I may need to look that up, because it would make sense. I mean, Luffy has a talking reindeer and a talking skeleton. First things first, when it comes to this chapter, I don't think anyone would have predicted that the thing that was going to change everything, at least in regards to Pudding's character, was the whole history of abuse concerning her third eye, which makes sense. It makes perfect sense. It was right there, right in the open, all right? But I didn't see anybody think about that. It was going to be like, oh yeah, well, nobody's really thought about it as beautiful. In fact, I've always been bullied because of it. And now you have Sanji, the first one to acknowledge, the third eye and actually call it beautiful. Even Big Mom was like, oh, you sure are creepy. You're an ugly ass daughter. We've got Victoria's Secret catalog model Big Mom taking shots at Pudding for her third eye. That's just really, really, really nice. Yeah, I don't think anybody really predicted the change to happen with Pudding this way. However, I think it was my last review where I said that, so when Sanji sees Pudding in the dress for the first time, like, Sanji starts acting like a fool. I mean, the guy even had a bloody nose or something. It was just ridiculous. Just total perv mode. Even though, keep in mind, even though he knows that, this chick is probably going to end up shooting him in the face. So he was acting like, normal, regular Sanji. And I do remember saying that I thought that what Oda was going to do was that he was going to use this gag to Sanji's advantage. And that's exactly what happened. Because one of the things that is stressed in this arc over and over again is the fact that Sanji is very sensitive and that he has this code with women that he just turns into goo in front of them. And I said this because Oda did the same thing with Usopp in Dressrosa, where he actually knocked out Sugar for the first time because of a gag. And so in this case, it's kind of like, yeah, well, I know you're going to shoot me, but hey, you're still beautiful. I have to compliment you. And that's the thing that turns the tide. And it works really well. It's one of those cases where, like, Sanji being who he is with women, like Sanji being Sanji ends up saving the day. Just like Usopp being Usopp and making that ridiculous face back in Dressrosa saved the day back then. Yeah, it's pretty cool because you take a character trait or gag that people are constantly perceiving as like annoying or some type of a weakness, and then you use a different context to turn that into a strength. Anyway, the cake is like the size of a small mountain, and I thought it was pretty interesting how it actually comes out of the ground. And I love Big Mom's reaction to it. It actually kind of reminded me of Luffy's reaction to when he sees something delicious for the first time. It's like, and the hard eyes and little stars there. I think even Napoleon was like, yeah, that's it's a huge ass cake, which I think if we take the cracker fight into consideration, in terms of like Luffy eating the biscuits to like recoup and regain energy, something similar like that may happen here, especially because of the way the chapter ended. And I mean, that's a big ass cake. So there's a lot of food for Luffy just to scoop up if he needs to. Then again, the plan is to get out of there as soon as possible. So I'm not sure that it'll happen the same way, but we'll see. Before I forget, there's one scene that I thought was very interesting with Stussy. At least from the translation that I read, it's very heavily implied that Stussy is a lot older than she actually appears. And so, the fact that it's kind of like referencing some type of age manipulation, I just thought about Bonnie, to be honest. Where is Bonnie? Now here's something that I didn't think about before. I didn't even think about this even while Capone was like, telling his plan to the Straw Hats. But now that I read this chapter, there is a scene where, like, the priest, it's a very, very nice panel of, like, both Pudding and Sanji with the profiles, and they're just looking at each other, and, the priest is in the middle. The priest looks like a troll. Kind of go through, like, the entire wedding dialogue ritual of, like, I take you to be my wife in sickness and in health, for rich or poor, all that stuff. I didn't see them exchange any rings, but I guess my question here is, are Sanji and Pudding technically married by the end of this chapter, because the whole kind of thing just ends with like him, the priest saying like, lift up the bride's veil so that you can kiss her, which is kind of like, you know, I mean, stereotypically, that's the last part of the ceremony. Typically, when you see a wedding go down in a movie or a TV show, the last line is, you may now kiss the bride. And they actually get there in this chapter. You know, that's what, you know, reveals Pudding's third eye. So again, my question is, are Pudding and Sanji technically husband and wife at this point? You know, because there's also a lot of cuts in between those vows. All right, and one of those cuts that we get is to Katakuri seeing the future, Pudding going to the ground crying. Meanwhile, I love Capote. There's like a small panel of him going like, crap, 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 he's seeing the future. Somebody blind him. Blind him! We get the public revelation of Pudding's third eye, and I think what's really cool about this, or at least the way she rationalizes it, and this is just like credit to Oda for being such a great writer, is that she's basically thinking about this like, okay, if I actually go through with this, if I actually kill this guy who complimented my eye, that I'm literally just proving all of my bullies right, because then I would really just be an ugly three-eyed monster. And it actually goes back to the previous chapter too, where Pudding was getting upset over Sanji's behavior, over him fawning over her, because that was hitting a nerve. Like, she was getting provoked. He's like, why is this guy acting this way? Like, this is never really, like, do you know what I'm about to do to you? And then like, oh, it's the eye thing. So that just, you know, led to her breakdown. Big Mom notices that Pudding's not going to shoot him, so immediately she signals the priest. She's like, get it over with. And then Katakuri knows, nope, he's not going to do it. I can already see he's going to dodge. Sanji's going to dodge. So he takes the jelly bean. And, oh my, I mean, can we talk about feats? Actually, I take that back, because in order to begin to discuss feats, we first need to come to an agreement. There needs to be some type of consensus in terms of what the hell actually happened in that scene with Sanji and Katakuri. So there's three options. Number one, and I think this is the most basic one, the most obvious one, is that Sanji's observation haki is so on point that he can now dodge the attacks of a Yonko commander who can see the future. Not only that, but it seems like he can actually leave like an after image. If you saw it, it's actually like he's moving so fast, he's leaving like Pikachu doing double team. You have that after image there. I thought that was great. We're also, number two is that we're learning about Katakuri's limits in terms of his future seeing ability. So he wasn't able to foresee Sanji dodging the jelly bean. And number three is that maybe Katakuri just got nerfed for this one occasion. Whatever, it could be a combination of all these three, but I personally, I'm willing to give Sanji the W. If I remember correctly, I think it was in Punk Hazard where we learned that he could actually sense like a teardrop literally falling to the ground, even though he was like really, really far away. So yeah, I think that's what happened. I think Sanji's observation haki is so freaking good that he was able to bypass Katakuri's future seeing ability, in my opinion, but please let me know what you think. Actually, you know what? I just reread that scene. I think I understand it a little bit better. So, and this is what pretty much gives it away. So Katakuri says, when he shoots the jelly bean up at Sanji and Sanji dodges, Katakuri says, oh, like he was able to dodge that too. So what I think happened was that Katakuri was so focused, his vision of the future was showing Sanji dodging the shot from the priest. And because Katakuri can't see more than one vision at a time, all right, he just said like, he's going to dodge the priestess shot, I'm just going to go for it, boom. But he wasn't even seeing whether or not he could dodge his own shot, because he was so focused on Sanji dodging the shot from the priest. Does that make sense? Like he hadn't seen it. Then he immediately goes to stand in front of Big Mom, you know, to grant her some cover, some protection, because he knows what's coming out of the cake, you know, even before it comes out, which is just a bunch of Luffy clones. So even though he can see that happening, the problem with that though is that he doesn't know which Luffy is actually the real one. Even though he can see the future, the clones are confusing him. So that's why he's like, I can't do anything. Like, this is just, you know, just everybody run for cover. Take cover! Take cover! The shadow clones are coming! I think I saw Smoothie in the back as well. The Vinsmokes are completely surrounded. So I guess it's up to Luffy to get them out of there. And I love those panels of Luffy just running. Just like when he was like, it's time, it's action. Like, that's the gunshot. Which wasn't really actually Pudding's gunshot, it was Katakuri's jelly bean. Finally, we have Brule apologizing for creating those Luffy mirror clones, which, by the way, I did say that she was going to use this ability in the last review. She didn't use it exactly how I thought she would, but I knew that she was going to, this ability had to be incorporated in this scene in some way, shape, or form because it creates chaos and it's a really, really good way of distracting the opponent. So there you go. I thought this chapter was really, really good. And like I said before, like this is only gonna get better. Like this is the beginning, just the beginning of this arc's climax. So I can't wait to see what happens. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you did. I appreciate that. Comment on anything that I said in the video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do One Piece reviews every Thursdays. Thank you guys. Bye.